Hey, hi, hello there, and welcome back to Formula Amateur, where today we'll be discussing what to expect for the rest of the season now that we are in the final run-up before everything closes up for the 2025 year. So let's get into it, shall we? So first, let's start off by talking about the remaining races of the season. So we are currently in the midst of the Mexican Grand Prix, followed by eventually we have the Brazil Grand Prix, then we have Las Vegas, then we have Qatar, then we have Abu Dhabi. But what exactly is there? Well, there are still 2 sprint races to go. So that is the Brazilian sprint race and the Qatar sprint race. So that's going to give a few points in the meantime, additionally to the Grand Prix race results. And obviously the final race in Abu Dhabi, where hopefully we'll find out how every team finishes, and we will also find out things like who is in what order for the drivers, and presumably at the moment it looks like it will go down to the wire in Abu Dhabi. So let's get into a little bit about the midfield. So our midfield teams have been Williams, has been Racing Bulls, has been Aston Martin, Kick Sauber and Alpine. It doesn't look like Alpine are going to move anywhere above where they are, which is in 10th position. Williams looks like they are going to hold on to that 5th position, which is great considering last year they finished 9th. So anything like that is an amazing achievement for them, and it looks like they are constantly on the up, and hopefully they will continue to improve into the new year. And then we keep seeing swaps between Racing Bulls, Aston Martin and Sauber, so that's where sort of the question lies on how will those teams line up against everyone else, and also not forgetting Haas, because those 4 teams, Haas, Aston Martin, Racing Bulls and Sauber, are just sort of, they're having a mixture, they're having a roller coaster of a year. So I am looking forward to finding out where this all concludes in Abu Dhabi. And Sauber, I've got to give props to them from getting from last position in the constructors last year with only 4 points, which they only received in Qatar, to now being in the 50s range. That is an amazing achievement. I don't know what they did to that car, but sometimes it excels beyond expectations, and hopefully we'll see that trend when they become Audi next year. Another thing about the teams, well, now that we know that McLaren has got the crown, they, once again, 2nd year in a row, they have won constructors, but who's going to finish in 2nd, considering that, at the moment it's Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull, but they are literally within like 20 points of each other, if not less. So they are a very interesting bit to look out for, because this will also go down to the wire. Obviously we have to remember Mercedes is a team that has one senior driver in George Russell, who up until last year was still the junior driver in a sense, because he was the junior to Lewis Hamilton's senior, but he has already had quite a few years in the Mercedes, and previously to that he was in Williams. Then we have Ferrari, who has Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc, both have a lot of experience, and they are race winners. Obviously Lewis Hamilton being a 7-time world champion, and Charles Leclerc being 3rd last year in the drivers, and in 2022 he was in the contention for the for winning as well in drivers, until Max Verstappen just sort of stopped that from happening, but also Ferrari being Ferrari. And then there's Red Bull, who only has one competitive car to work through, because obviously Max the Magician is Max the Magician, and Yuki Tsunoda is hardest, but it is really a difficult car to grasp in that second seat ever since the Ricciardo curse. So it is interesting where those three will end up, and I presume we will only know, because of how close it is, in Abu Dhabi once those final fireworks set off for the 2025 season. So now let's talk more about the drivers themselves. So right now in contention, obviously we have Piastri in first, then we have Norris, then we have Max, who's constantly closing in, and then we have George. So let's talk about George for a second. He has won 2 races this year, which doesn't seem like a lot, but considering how dominant McLaren have been, it's still quite impressive considering only those 4 have ever won a race this year. So it is looking quite likely that although he's quite far away from Verstappen, he's still mathematically possible in winning, but perhaps maybe next year might be his year more than it is this year. But we have to remember that he is still far away from Verstappen. But he has had quite an impressive year. He has really stood out now that he is out of the shadows of Lewis Hamilton, and Lewis is also struggling with a teammate of Kimi Antonelli who has had an amazing year up until we moved into the European season. Then something happened where Europe and Antonelli did not agree in terms of points and success, and now that we are out of the European season, he seems to be picking that up a bit more. So I don't know what it was. I mean, rookie stress. You're within your own home crowds of your local, countries and continent, your own continent. So maybe that piled in a bit more, but hopefully he can improve next year. But George, he is still in contention, but it is quite unlikely that he would get it. But it looks like he's just on the up and up, so that's great to see. And now the magician himself, Max Verstappen, he has closed in a massive gap. So where more towards the mid of the year he was about 100 points away from Piastri, or was it Norris, something like that. He was quite far behind. He managed to close that in to now being within 40 points of the of first position, so he is rapidly moving forward. So he said that there's a 50-50 chance that he'll get it, because he'll either get it or he won't, and if he doesn't, that's fine. We can take that to next year and see if we can be better next year and get the 5th. But it would also be great personally to see a new champion, because as I've spoken about in my Drivers' Championship episode about everyone who has been a champion, there have only been 34 champions so far, and we've had 75 years of this. So if we get a bit more nuance, a bit more new faces in that championship Hall of Fame, that would be great to see. But Max seems to just not let go and wants to, perhaps he's in the back of his mind, even though he doesn't want to outwardly say it, perhaps he wants to be the first to get the 8th. But we'll see what it comes down to. He has a chance if he continues on his winning streak, he can get first position in the drivers by Qatar, but a lot has to go wrong for McLaren, so we'll see where they all end up. And finally, let's talk about the McLaren battle. So both of those drivers have had a lot of success this year. Initially, for the first few races, it was Norris who was in first position. Then Piastri has been ever since, after I think it was Jeddah when he took over, being first. And now, obviously Lando has had a DNF near the end of the Canadian race when he was chasing Piastri down for 4th position. Then his engine blew up during Zandvoort, also very close to the end of the race he won last year as well. And then he had the DNF with Oscar in the sprint race in Austin. So there's those few things that are coming up to mind. But then also Piastri, he has had a DNF in Baku in the first lap after also stalling the engine and then going straight into a wall in like the 5th turn. And then he also was he was at fault but didn't get penalised for causing the sprint race crash in Austin with Lando, and also causing Alonso to be out the race and Hülkenberg to be compromised as well. Although he did manage to finish the race, he didn't do as well as we were hoping he would do, because he obviously qualified 4th or 3rd. And so, yeah, there's a lot going on there. Piastri seems to be on the down low for now. He seems to be dropping behind, and Norris is on the up. But also, there's the threat of the Magic Dutchman coming up behind him. So it's a lot going on, and there's a lot of stress. And the only person that's calm is Max Verstappen, because he's done it before. He'll do it again, most likely. And I believe that man has never felt pressure ever since he got into Formula 1. So I don't think he has that bit of mentality in his brain. I think once he joined F1, that just sort of popped out and just went, absolutely not. And he has just been the ruthless killer on track as he has been. So good luck to everyone, basically. And we'll see how this year concludes. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Formula Amateur. Please check out my lovely colleagues on the Be The Change Media Network. Please check out BeTheChangeMediaNetwork.com. As always, FormulaAmateur.com is also on the way. I will see you on Monday with a race rundown of the Mexican Grand Prix, so be ready for that. I hope you have a lovely weekend, and I'll see you on Monday. Goodbye.